Cheers, guys, and Happy New Year. Epix911, welcome to the first VR Roundup episode for 2018. This is episode 23, guys. Quick channel update, then we're going to launch into the news. So there's 3 shows on the channel. We've got the series that you're watching now, which is VR Roundup. This is the show that Daily VR News kind of morphed into, which is news, current events, every Tuesday and Friday. There's the Quick Look series, which is games, applications, as the name implies, a quick look, not a review or a demo, but hopefully enough of a quick look for you to decide if it's worth pursuing or maybe passing on, right? Then we've got VR A to Z, which is a catch-all, but it's for things like the history of virtual reality. Part 3, I know I said that last episode, but it is coming. It's more in-depth looks, like Google Earth. We just released that, tutorials, how-tos, etc. So I was giving it some thought, and this is where you guys come in. Let me know in the comments below. What if I was to create a 4th series, but the caveat being ease of editing? Going back to how the VR News show originally was, when it was more of a podcast / vlog show where I talked about whatever the current events were, but I, might mix in topical things. But again, the emphasis being editing friendly. So I would riff 15 to 25 minutes, no jump cuts, start to finish, warts and all, slap some editing on there and be done within 60 to 90 minutes. So that's kind of what the idea is. Maybe there's no appeal there because it would be a lot rougher and a lot more rambling. Now, easy for me to say, if you don't like it, you don't need to let me know because you could simply not watch it, but there might be a specific reason. So do let me know if you've got a few seconds, if it's not appealing. Of course, I want to hear from you if you are interested. So let me know, guys. Just kicking that around, but I think I could manage something like that because it wouldn't be as time involved. With that said, guys, let's jump into it. First up, this one is interesting. Steam releasing their Game Awards for 2017, and it includes an interesting category, the best-selling virtual reality game category. Now, they've got that split up into tiers, platinum at the high end, gold, silver, and then bronze at the low end. But we can extract some really interesting data out of that. The games are measured by gross revenue. Doesn't matter if you don't understand the term, the financial terms, etc. It's simply the amount of money that a title makes before any other things are calculated. So if a title was $50, you sold 10, your gross revenue is $500. 10 times 50, that's it. So before everything else comes off of that. So we know it's based on that. What's in that high category for platinum? Well, some expected titles, Raw Data, Audio Shield, Superhot VR, etc. What's also in there, though, is Fallout 4 VR. And here's where it gets interesting. Steam VR is pretty tight-lipped, or Steam in general, with exact figures. But knowing that it's gross revenue, and also knowing that back September of 2016 last year, there was an article about Raw Data being one of the first games to break 1 million within its first month. Again, another gross figure, so $1 million in revenue. So we can use that figure and say, at the very least, we're talking platinum means a game has to have made more than $1 million. And it could be 2 million, 5 million. Let's go with that super conservative figure. It doesn't have to be exact, but it does still tell us an interesting story. So if we use that figure, we've got 25,000 copies to get 1 million for Raw Data at $40, right? Audio Shield, though, this is interesting, half the price at 20 for most of its life. Again, there's sales, so these numbers aren't going to be exact. Means Audio Shield sold about 50,000 copies to get its 1 million. And remember, we're not talking a month here, we're talking a year, a full year. So likely way higher, but we're being conservative. What about Fallout 4, though? That title just freaking got released. within the last 2 months, and yet they managed to hit the platinum tier. That tells us that the potential for AAA titles, whether Bethesda bugs, all of that aside, whether you refunded it, all of that, whether you like it or not, the fact is they hit platinum within a pretty tight time frame. You got to think, and this is a for sure, there are other AAA publishers and bigger indie companies sitting on the sidelines looking in that are going to be well aware how well Fallout 4 VR has done. Remember, we're talking about a game, the original of which is quite a few years old now. Same goes for Skyrim. And yet it hit that category. So, yeah, that was really interesting to me. What was also interesting is seeing titles like Spark in the bronze. What the heck was the reason for that? Was it something to do with just having poor marketing? Did it not get the reach? It obviously didn't make the impact it needed to be kind of sitting in bronze. But yeah, just interesting. And you could extrapolate that 10 more ways to Tuesday. The big thing out of that for me was the Fallout 4 VR and the potential impact for those not doing virtual reality. I'm not talking the EAs of the world. Honestly, I could care less if they do VR or not. I'm talking about classy, bug-free, amazing title companies that are flirting with virtual reality. Hopefully this sends them a message. And then next up, Road to VR, coming with a pretty interesting article, and I'm going to kind of do this in a couple of parts. I'll touch some of the games now and then do some more as fitting on the Gaming Friday edition of VR Roundup. But they have titles for 2018 that they're most looking forward to. So I thought it'd be fun. Take a look at some of those titles together. And like I said, we'll look at the second half of those on the Friday show. So first up, Ark Park. Now, this is billed as Jurassic Park before all hell breaks loose. It's a game from China-based Snail Games. You might recognize them. That's because they're the folks behind Ark Survival Evolved, which is a multiplayer game, as is Ark Park. It's a multiplayer adventure game mixing dinosaur-themed factual and fictional elements. Now, I take that to mean two types of dinosaurs that lived hundreds of million years apart, being in the same kind of game. It was already delayed from 2017. The plan is for it to launch in 2018 on all three platforms, Rift, Vive, and PlayStation VR. Then we have this really strange game, guys. We've looked at this before, Bebylon Battle Royale, a game that blurs the lines between cute, and I'm sorry, I gotta say it, frickin' disturbing. Babies locked in all manner of duels is what Bebylon Battle Royale hopes to deliver. So the devs, Kite and Lightning, my thought, they're hoping for an impact via laughs, I'm sure. But between the creepy babies doing the fighting and the Bizarro World baby audience, guys, you got to check them out. Peaceful sleep and nightmares may be the only things impacted by this title. Vive and Rift, early 2018 is the plan. And we've got Brass Tactics. This is a multi-single player real-time strategy game. We've looked at this before from developers Hidden Path Entertainment, the folks behind Age of Empires 2, the HD edition. That was the one that came out, I believe, in 2013. Well, Brass Tactics, the plan, the Rift platform, February 28th of 2018. And then next up, Bravo Team VR. This is an online two-player co-op strategy shooter. Now, at first when I saw this, I got excited. It might be, the rare multiplayer that I can enjoy with a buddy because I've said before, I'm more of a co-op than a, full tilt multiplayer social VR type person. But with that said, it appears to not offer free roam. Instead, it's an on-the-rails shooter. So you're playing an on-the-rails shooter cooperatively with a friend. Could still be fun, just not what I had in mind or what I was hoping for when I saw the trailer bits for the game. This one, PlayStation VR 2018. They don't have a specific month. And then, guys, finally, how long have we been waiting for this? Budget cuts. We've been playing the demo since, you know, the Rift and Vive. I think it was even DK2. That's how long this has been out. And finally, the full version of budget cuts for both Rift and Vive. Again, no specific month, just that it's going to be released sometime this year. Then we've got Echo Combat. And if it sounds familiar, yep, devs ready at dawn, same folks behind Lone Echo and Echo Arena. We get Echo Combat, which as the name implies is more combat focused. No details other than a short trailer. We do know based on that trailer, we're going to have the 0G back. So combat taking place in 0G Rift 2018. And a couple more here. Firewall, 0 hours. This is another military-style FPS. However, this one is free roam. Gameplay looks to be team-based tactical multiplayer, and apparently for PlayStation VR, supporting both DualShock 4 and the AIM controllers. And then lastly, we have Golem. Now, the developers, Highwire Games, they've had a few interviews, and in those interviews, they are constantly stressing that it's Golem, not Golem. So the devs, a mix of ex-Bungie employees and Halo composer Marty O'Donnell behind this title. You play the part of an injured kid who is bedridden, but able to explore the world kind of through the metaphysical, through some type of mystical means that they don't explain. Probably enough to pique my interest. PlayStation VR again sometime in 2018. And this next story, the most popular head-mounted display category on Steam, well, that may be shifting to the Oculus Rift. And we're going to kind of touch on this at the end, kind of some further hopes for 2018 for me platform-wise. But yeah, according to this Road to VR article, the stats between the two very, very close. I think the Vive retains about a 1% over the Rift. Again, not super, super accurate, but enough to say, you know what? There's two big players on Steam VR, as there should be, because those are the main compatibility points, Rift and Vive. Of course, there's Windows devices as well that have that Steam support, and some respectable percentages for them as well. Next up, a few months ago, we talked about CCP Studios. Of course, the folks behind Eve Online, well, they were going to scale back their VR efforts through their kind of subsidiary companies like CCP Games Newcastle, which effectively grinded to almost a halt. And then their Atlanta studio, that was the one responsible for the game Spark, closing down completely. Now news that VR-focused CCP Games Newcastle has actually been acquired by a company called Suo Digital. And they released a statement saying, Sumo is interested in all platforms for interactive entertainment, including VR. Although we're not yet announcing what the Newcastle studio is working on for VR, their proven skills and experience in VR will be a great addition for Sumo. Well, guys, that kind of takes us to the end of the show, and just quick editorial on my hopes, and I talked about this earlier, for 2018. This is something I've been meaning to kind of talk about. Didn't get an opportunity on the last show, namely because I kind of got caught up in other topics. But my biggest hope for 2018, guys, is that we see more cohesion. For me personally, when I read that story, you know, there might be some Vive people about the Steam VR and Rift catching up ground-wise in terms of percentages. That might be disappointed by that. Oh my God, it's, you know, Steam's home platform or Vive's home platform, and they're almost losing the lead here, or it's neck and neck. I look at that as a positive. And if there's one hope that I have, like I was saying, for 2018, it's more consolidation, more titles getting released that support more platforms. Hopefully, instead of debating, you know what, another restricted access game, exclusives in other words, for Rift or Vive or PlayStation, we get more titles that come out for the big three. And now that we've got the Windows mixed reality devices in the mix, that come out for that as well. As far as I'm concerned, if you are releasing on the Steam VR platform. There is little to no excuse to not bring that compatibility. It's been shown and proven time again, it's not very difficult to extend that functionality. We've had titles not working on launch for whatever mysterious political reasons you want to insert, only to be miraculously fixed with a beta patch from the platform people, i.e. the Steam VR folks at Valve. So I'm not buying a lot of that. As far as we've been, led to believe it's this huge mountain that they got to climb development-wise, not the case. It's not that difficult. So please, devs, for 2018, if you're entertaining Steam VR as your release platform, have it be supported on mixed reality, Vive, Rift, etc. That would be my hope. Of course, if you're a super small company, even that may be, a bit of a harder leap. I get that. But for the majority, come on, guys. Let's make it work across the board. PlayStation, that's a whole other discussion. There, at least I hope, exclusive titles for the PlayStation don't have the nonsensical 1 year attached to them. Sorry, that was frickin' ridiculous. You know what titles I'm talking about. I can understand sort of if it's weeks, maybe a quarter to 2 quarters, 6 months max. Actually, as I say that, I take it back. 3 months max, 90 days. Then let it be on the other platforms. Come on, guys. Really? PC that much of a competition for you? I don't think so. Well, guys, there you have it. VR Roundup. Let me know your thoughts on that or some of the other things we chatted about, like the potential for that lesser edited version of a podcast/vlog. Guys, as always, cheers.